President Obama made some major news basically saying that he thinks that smoking weed is no worse than drinking alcohol. As has been well documented, I smoked pot as a kid, and I view it as a bad habit and a vice, not different from the cigarettes that I smoked as a young person up through a big chunk of my adult life. I don't think it is more dangerous than alcohol. Now, I'm pretty sure that the three of us sitting at this table agree with that. However, he is running into a bit of a problem here because on whitehouse.gov, which I'm pretty sure is his website, they don't agree with that. The administration steadfastly opposes legalization of marijuana and other drugs because legalization would increase the availability and use of illicit drugs and pose significant health and safety risks to all Americans, particularly young people. So it's that last part. He's saying, no, the health risk isn't that great compared to alcohol, but the administration's own statement on it actually says, did he sort of bumble into this one kind of the way he did the gay marriage thing? Remember Joe Biden sort of stumbled on Meet the Press and said, I believe it, and it was sort of building and building and building, and then Obama had to do it a week later. I think that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
You know, we like to think he's kind of brave, but actually he's not.
It's like an accident. I think it's hilarious that when politicians say something truthful and blunt, it's usually an accident, right? It's like whenever they make very confident statements, they're usually lies. Yeah. Whenever they say something that makes sense, it's because they accidentally blurted it out. It's crazy. But I'm glad that he's on the record saying that now, because it's the truth, and it's nice to hear Obama speak the truth.
It's about time he came around to it.
Yeah.
You know, I think you're right that Obama tends to lead from behind. You know, that once everybody else is on board with it, once it's totally safe to come out and say, yeah, I'm for it, or I'm okay with that, then Obama will actually come out and say something that's positive in that respect.
Right. So how in this regard does he reconcile then what the policy has been, saying it is worse than alcohol, versus what his personal beliefs are? How does he, because one day he's going to come out and say, you know, either the states can all legalize it. Even now, you know, here in California where it is legal, the feds are allowed and do sometimes raid
some of the dispensaries.
The dispensaries, right. So he's played both sides of this thing, and I think he's put himself in a bit of a weird position.
Wait, Obama has played both sides?
Like the NSA or a multitude of other things?
Straddling that line? Like, yeah, it happens all the time. That's what Obama does. It's the most frustrating thing. But, you know, you can't deny the progress that we have in marijuana legalization. I think that it will now have a domino effect. What happened in Colorado and Washington will have a domino effect. Now New York is considering legalizing marijuana, and there's widespread support for that. So I'm hopeful about it. I mean, sure, I like having Obama on the record being honest about the impact of alcohol versus marijuana, but I think ultimately it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's a supply and demand issue. Americans love their pot, they want to smoke it, and politicians want to raise as much tax revenue as possible, so this is a good way of doing it.
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly tempting. And I don't think Obama is going to have a problem. I don't think he's, you know, bumbled into anything. I think the White House drug czar is going to have a problem, because the whole existence of that office is predicated on the war on drugs. And if you take away part of the war on drugs, one of the major ways that, you know, we incarcerate people in the United States, especially young black men, that is going, you know, there's a saying, Upton Sinclair said it, never expect a man to understand something when his job depends on him not understanding it. I think that's what is at work here.